Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Homeschool and Chill, the YouTube channel that seeks to alleviate your stress and anxiety about homeschooling. My name is Corinne, and today I want to tell you how to get started homeschooling. So, I have been making quite a few videos giving some advice about homeschooling and sharing my experiences about homeschooling. And I think I've even made a video telling my beginner homeschool mistakes to kind of help you guys out to not make the same mistakes. But I sat here and I thought about it. I haven't really made a video telling you exactly how to get started. And with everything that's been going on with the schools being shut down for the coronavirus and everything, there has been a spike in interest in homeschooling. There's lots of people saying they don't know what's going to happen with the schools in the fall. And even if schools are ready to open in the fall, they're not sure what the experiences are really going to be like, if it's really going to be beneficial to their children. And some people have seen that having their children at home and them learning at home has actually been a very positive experience. And so now they're like, I want to homeschool my kids, but I don't really know how to get started. Well, you're going to learn today. So the very first step to getting started with homeschooling is getting your mind right. You need to get your mind right. You need to get prepared for what's to come. And I say that because I think a lot of people see the benefits of homeschooling and they don't really consider that any decision that you make, whether your children are going to be homeschooled or whether they're going to return to public school or private school or whatever, that there are pros and cons on either side. And so even though you may have decided that homeschooling is the best option for your family, do understand that there are going to be some negatives that come along with it. And most of those negatives are going to be dealing with just change. You having to adjust your lifestyle to accommodate homeschooling. If you are accustomed to your children being away, you're used to them being gone for about 8 hours or more during the day, there is an adjustment that has to be made when you are with your children pretty much 24/7 after that, especially if you are going to be at home all the time and you're homeschooling and you're not working full time and just homeschooling for a couple of hours of the day. If you're going to be at home all day and your children are going to be home with you all day and going with you everywhere that you go, there is an adjustment. Now, it is a blessing. I count it a blessing that I am with my children pretty much 24 hours of the day. However, some of the greatest blessings in life do come with a little inconvenience or frustration. And so, it does get to be a bit much sometimes when you don't have as much time to yourself, or it gets to be a bit much when, especially when your children are really tiny and they're asking a lot of questions or they're getting into things, or you notice your house doesn't stay as clean because your children aren't at home, more hours of the day and there's more cleaning and things that have to be done. So I do want you to consider that you are going to experience some change. Get prepared for the fact that you don't know everything. I think a lot of parents go into homeschooling thinking that they have to know all the information that they're going to teach their children. And that can be really intimidating, especially once your children get to the later years of middle school or high school where there's information that you've forgotten because you didn't use it. Or your children are interested in subjects that are a little more complicated and those were not things you were necessarily good at, like chemistry or calculus or something. Keep in mind you don't have to know everything. And that when you need help, reach out for help. There are resources, there are tools and things out there for you where you don't necessarily have to just take everything in your mind and try to put it in your child's mind. You can homeschool your children and they can learn things that you don't even know. Now that you know what you are getting yourselves into, then it's time to actually look up homeschool law and homeschool requirements. Now, every state is different, so don't try to just, look for some broad expectations for homeschooling. Every state is different, so I recommend that you go online and look up your state's Department of Education, and they will have homeschool laws and requirements. The thing that I really want you to focus on too is to make sure that you follow all the guidelines of properly withdrawing your children from the public school system before you try to start homeschooling, because you could be teaching your children, they're being actively educated, but if you haven't officially withdrawn them from school, you can set yourself up to have somebody knocking on your door asking, why aren't your kids in school? So make sure you follow the proper protocols of withdrawing your children from school and declaring your homeschool to keep yourself protected. While I'm talking to you about homeschool law and protecting your rights as a homeschool parent, I want you to be familiar with the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. They are there to protect homeschool families, because as much as you think that homeschooling is just, oh, okay, I want to teach my kids at home, and there's not much to it, there is a lot to it. One, you want to protect yourself to make sure that you don't have anyone coming at you saying that you're not really teaching your children, and also you don't want anyone infringing on your rights of how you're able to homeschool your children, and for someone to try to claim that you're not doing something that's legally okay. This organization was set up to protect homeschool families and our rights, because there are actual groups who are trying to get rid of homeschooling, because a homeschool education is an education where the government isn't controlling what's being taught to children. So you can go ahead and connect the dots on that of why it's important to know your rights and why it's good to be affiliated with different associations who can protect you in the court of law when you're homeschooling your children. Hopefully all of this legal stuff didn't scare you off. But you have to know your rights. It's America, and there's always someone who's trying to infringe on your rights to do things. So you want to be protected. This is just one more thing that you make sure that you know what your rights are, what you are able to do, what you're not able to do, and how to protect yourself if someone is trying to claim that you are not doing what you're supposed to do. After you have gotten your mind right, after you have officially withdrawn your children and you have declared your homeschool, all of your rights and all of those different things, then it's time to deschool. Now, I won't go into deep detail about what deschooling is. I think I'll make a completely different video for that, because there's a lot of information I can give you about deschooling. But to just give you a basic definition of deschooling, is basically, before you try to worry about reading, writing, and arithmetic and all those different things, you just take some time to get your children to adjust to the change that they are making. Believe it or not, going to public school or going to a traditional school, it is an indoctrination. It is a systematic way of things being done, and children have been conditioned to operate and do things a certain way. And not only your children, but you. If you have been traditionally schooled, then you believe that school should be run or done a certain way, because that is what you've gone through for at least 12 years. And that's what you've seen your children go through for so many years. And so homeschooling is completely different. And things that work in a traditional school setting are not necessarily going to work in a homeschool setting. And even some things that are done in a traditional school, they don't always work, but they just do it because it's an easier way to control the masses. It's an easier way to keep a large group of children under control. You assign children a number, you make children walk in lines, you can't speak unless you raise your hand, you can't relieve yourself without asking to go to the restroom. If you're thirsty, you have to wait for a break or wait for someone to allow you to leave, and all those certain things. Anyway, there are certain ways that things are done in a public school or traditional school setting that is meant to keep a large group of children under control and everything organized. You don't have those issues to worry about in your homeschool environment, and you don't have to do those things. So you really take some time to deschool, get out of the traditional school mindset, and get your children to just enjoy school. Especially if your children have been away for many hours of the day, you may need that extra time to really know what their likes are, what their interests are, what their fears are, what their concerns are, all those certain things. Get those things aired out in the beginning, because that bond that you create with your child is going to help your child to trust you as you go on this journey together, and understand that what you're doing, even though it's a change and they may not actually like it, some children don't want to be homeschooled, but if you develop this bond during deschooling, it'll help your child to trust that you're making the right decision and that you're in this together. It's not just something that you're forcing them to do. It also helps them to kind of release some of the stress or anxiety that they might have gone through while they were being traditionally schooled, because some kids are bullied, some kids feel left out or alone or whatever. And especially during this pandemic, it just gives your kids a time to really get everything out that's going on. That I can't see my friends, I haven't gone anywhere for a while, I'm just bored. Allow them to really emote before you just dive into trying to teach them what they're supposed to know. Also, deschooling is a good time to get to know your children, because you can take their interests and their hopes and their dreams and their goals, and you can fit that into their education. Especially with smaller children, if there's a cartoon character or a movie or whatever that they're interested in, if you can incorporate those interests into whatever you're teaching them, then you've got their attention, and they're more likely to learn things that they're interested in. And with older children, it's important to take that time because they're at an age where they're trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives, what their purpose is, what they want to do with themselves, or what kind of career that they want to have. And paying that extra attention will help you to tailor your education or tailor their education to prepare for those goals, so that you know, okay, you don't really need to worry about these particular classes because you're not even interested in doing anything that involves that. The information that you gather while you are deschooling, while you're getting yourself out of the traditional school mindset, when you are getting your children out of the traditional school mindset, you take all that information and it will help you to decide what type of homeschool method you are going to take. And that is my very next point. Now, this could be another whole video itself. There's a lot of information to homeschooling, and that is probably one of the reasons why you might be feeling overwhelmed about getting started and you don't know where to start, because there's just so much information out there, and I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. I don't even know all the different styles of homeschooling, but once you get to know yourself more, your teaching style, your child's learning style, what their interests are and what their goals are, especially for older children, then you can decide what type of approach you're going to take to educating your child. Traditional schooling, where even though you're homeschooled, that you still kind of follow the same format as traditional school, where you pretty much teach the information and then your children kind of do worksheets and things like that to show what they have learned. There are, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I think it's Montessori or Montessori. I've never learned the correct way to say that, and once I think I know it, I always forget. But anyway, that's another style. There's Charlotte Mason, there's Afrocentric homeschooling, there's religious homeschooling, there's self-directed, there's unschooling, there's all different types of ways that you can homeschool your children. And I don't think that one way is better than the other. It just depends on your family and your family's needs and your child's learning style. That's what determines what is the best homeschooling style for your family. Personally, we have an eclectic, I consider us to be an eclectic homeschool, because I will just try whatever works at the time. If it seems like a certain way of doing things doesn't work, I will switch up in a heartbeat and find something different, just to make sure that my kids stay on track, that they're learning what they need to learn, that the stress is kept at a minimum. I will just switch things up no matter what. So I can't really define my homeschool as one style or another. We're just eclectic. I will do a traditional style for a while because I was a second grade teacher and I didn't deschool when I first started homeschooling my girls. So I did do things the traditional way because that's what I knew. But as time goes by, I'm becoming less and less traditional about my approach. For some subjects, the girls are self-directed or unschooled, where they pretty much, they decide what it is that they want to learn. If they ask questions, they want to know about something, then I will just go get the resources. I'll find videos, books, whatever. We'll learn whatever that they're interested in, not what a curriculum says. But I have purchased a curriculum before, and I will follow it to the letter for a while, and then sometimes I'll just see, oh, this is what they're learning, well, I'm going to do it this way to teach it to my children. We use online apps, they watch videos. We are an Afrocentric homeschool, and we are a Christian homeschool. So there's just a lot of things that are going on. We kind of classify as so many different homeschools, and you can do the same thing. You can be eclectic, where there's so many different things that describe your homeschool, or you can choose one method, or you can just be flexible and change. Flexibility is so important with homeschooling. So, like I said, deschooling is important because it gives you an idea how you're actually going to homeschool your children, what method is going to work best for your family and for your family's lifestyle. So after you have decided how you're going to teach your children, what style will probably work the best for your family, then it's time to figure out what you're actually going to teach your children. And the way to do that is usually by having a curriculum or developing your own curriculum. Or if you're unschooling, then there's probably not a curriculum, but you just kind of follow your child's interest. Based on the style of homeschooling that your family has decided on, it will dictate what type of curriculum you'll end up using eventually. Because if you have decided, oh, I like the Charlotte Mason style, I like having living books for my children to read and be able to learn lessons that way, and to really experience nature, spend time outdoors, and do hands-on activities. If that turns out to be your style, then you're not going to purchase a curriculum that's basically just you standing there talking to your child and them doing worksheets. You're not going to choose a more traditional homeschool curriculum, So if you are not a religious individual at all and you want to have a secular homeschool, then a Christian curriculum probably wouldn't work for you, and vice versa, all those sorts of things. So you're going to decide what type of curriculum that you want based on your preferences. That's one thing I hear a lot of new homeschool parents ask is, what curriculum do you use? What's a good curriculum for a 6-year-old? What's a good curriculum for an 8th grader, or different things like that? And there is no right or wrong answer to that. No one person can say this is going to work for your family. They can suggest what works well for them, but really you have to take the information you gathered while you deschooled, your family's lifestyle, and all those sorts of things, and decide what kind of curriculum that you choose for your family that will work best for you. Because just because it works for another family doesn't mean that it will work for your family. And sometimes you'll even realize that a curriculum that may work for your family for a couple of years may not work years later, because your family changes, your child is changing and developing. And not only that, there's some curriculums, like they might be an awesome elementary school curriculum, but not so great for middle school or high school. A curriculum that you may choose one year may not work for you the next year, and a curriculum that may work for one subject may not work for another. I love Abedica's phonics because they're very, very detailed, but I did not like their social studies because we are an Afrocentric homeschool. Their social studies and history is very Eurocentric. Not only can you purchase a curriculum, but you can just write your own curriculum, whether you're just writing a portion of it or whether you're writing the entire curriculum for your children. In my case, I kind of did both. I would use part of the curriculum for some subjects, and then I would come up with my own stuff for some other subjects, or let the girls kind of lead. They say, oh, I want to learn about the human body. And then I'll decide what books and what certain things about the human body I wanted the girls to learn at what time. So you can write your own curriculum, and that may be a little bit intimidating, especially if you're brand new. When I first started officially homeschooling, I completely stuck to the curriculum that I purchased. And as I'm becoming more experienced, I'm moving away from that, and I'm starting to just use online resources and just come up with my own curriculum. But if you are new to homeschooling and you feel like you don't want to spend money on a curriculum because they're expensive sometimes, if you want to make your own curriculum, you can look up your state standards or objectives for your child's grade, and you can use that as a guide of what you should teach in a school year. And you don't have to follow that, but that's a good place to start if you don't really know what you should be teaching your children and you don't want your kids to kind of just be doing nothing because you don't know what to teach. You can look online. There's actually people who are very experienced with homeschooling and who are curriculum writers who will either do it for you or they will teach you how to write your own homeschool curriculum. One person, and I'll try to have a link in the description for you, is Shaun the Homeschool Guru. She actually has courses you do gotta pay, but it's much cheaper than paying for a curriculum. But you can pay her and she will teach you how to write your own curricula for your children. Yes, I said curricula. The plural of curriculum is curricula, but I forget sometimes. I still say curriculums too. But the plural of curriculum is curricula. But anyway, you can write your own curriculum, and there are resources out there for you who will help you to do that if that is what you want to do. So don't feel like you're out there on your own. There are resources out there for you. And if you go on social media like Facebook, there are groups that you can join where there are very knowledgeable, experienced, veteran homeschoolers who will help you along the way. All you have to do is join the group and say, how do I do ... And there will be people who just come out of the woodwork to support you. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you feel empowered to just get started homeschooling. I hope that you found this information valuable and that you have the confidence and the information that you need to get started with homeschooling. If you did enjoy this video, like, share, and subscribe. But most of all, love yourselves. Bye, loves.